Hi everyone and welcome to Carless. So in this video I'll go through if the Polestar 2 can be used as a family car. Well, I mean, of course it can, but I've seen many people asking about, can you fit child seats and so on, and I have 2 kids, so 3 and 5, with 2 child seats, so one booster with a backrest and then one more in the back. So I'll give you my opinion if you can use the Polestar 2 as a family car. So first, my 5-year-old is sitting here in the front with a child seat. And one thing I've seen is that you can't really raise the headrest because it will start touching the headrest of the usual seat. So I have brought the headrest up here as much as I can. And I have a pretty short 5-year-old, but I can't sort of use this further up. Another thing is that I've raised the passenger chair so she can see out. And it's getting quite high, the passenger seat, so it's getting quite narrow up there as well. Otherwise, I've sort of pulled the back seat chair so there's a lot of space here in the front. And the back seat chair that is rear facing actually fits pretty good in terms of length. Okay, so I'm now in the back, and as you can see, the visibility from here is okay, even though we have a child seat in the front. However, if you look here for the child sitting in the rear, it is pretty cramped. So I don't know if you can see that, but these panels here take up a lot of space. There's not enough opening since the door comes here, so I will show you later. It's quite hard to get in if you're facing this way. Yeah, so I mean the actual seat here is pretty narrow. Yeah, so I think I've tried to pull this up even more, but I don't think I can, and it doesn't seem to come off, so this has actually been a limiting factor. Okay, so now we're going to look at this rear seat that's rear facing, and as you can see here, I mean the opening where you're supposed to get the child in, so here it's actually pretty narrow. I found it much more difficult than on the XC40, for example. So it takes up a lot of space. One other thing I would like to mention is that if you're sitting here driving, I'm used to being able to see the child in the rear. So we have a mirror there in the back, but you can't really see her, and I don't know why that is. On the XC40 I can see her quite well, so it's something with the angle here. Maybe she sits lower down, I don't know, but as soon as I look there in the behind, all I see is the child seat or the side of the child seat. Okay, so now we have the front-facing child seat here in the back. It fits well, but again you can see up here that it sort of touches the headrest, and my daughter is not the tallest person. If you bring that down, it actually looks like it fits much better. So as soon as you increase the height of the headrest, you actually touch the headrest of the seat, which brings the whole thing forward. And from what I can see, you can't adjust these headrests, so it's hard to fit. Yeah, so the taller the child, the more sort of space you will have in between the seat and the child seat. And as you can see here and on the photos I will post, no one will be able to sit in between here. So sorry for the dirty car. That's what's happened when you go on a weekend with kids. Another detail that is quite good is that you have the Isofix here in the front as well. So if you have a big chair, you can put it in the front, not to take up any space in the rear. So this has been sort of, I think at least for Volvo, this is sort of you have to pay extra for this, for the Isofix in the front. It's such a small part, which I think should be standard. But anyhow, you have it in the Polestar too. Okay, so the baggage or the trunk, I mean, this is maybe the easiest one to compare to other cars. I'm used to the XC40, and that's a little bit better. In terms of length, it's more or less the same. You have this sort of hump here, which you don't have on the XC40, and this can be a little bit annoying. The hat shelf here, and you can't really store it in the car. I don't think you can do that on the XC40 as well, but it's much more intrusive here in the Polestar 2 actually. So I wish you could sort of store this somehow, because you really would want to get rid of that. The good thing is you can pack this quite easy, almost as easy as XC40, because you can fill it up. Since the rear window is so small, you don't really use it while you're driving because the visibility is so poor. So you can really just fill it to the max. So I think in terms of XC40 it's marginally smaller but still useful. Okay, so to summarize how the Polestar works as a family car, the trunk is okay. It more or less depends on how much stuff you usually take with you, and that's something that most people already know. In terms of the internal space here, as we've seen, it is pretty small. So our setup is that we have one front facing in the front and one rear facing in the rear. That works, but it still feels pretty small overall. So we're used to the XC40, and that's much more roomier. And when you put two child seats in the Polestar, it immediately feels much smaller. I mean, it does feel small even though you don't have the seats. But for like 4 adults, I think it's okay. Or if you have sort of 2 adults and 2 children which don't use any seats, I guess that would be fine. That together with a roof box. But with child seat, it gets pretty cramped and you feel like they take up a lot of interior space, so it feels even smaller. The worst thing is the rear facing seat in the back, because the opening is so small, so you really have to struggle each time you sort of enter there with a child or try to put her in the seat. That's one of the more annoying things with this setup I have now. Having a child seat in the front, that's quite okay. It's not that intrusive. The big problem is in the back with the rear facing child seat. That takes up a lot of space. Even in terms of visibility, when you look back, you really see the chair It's really hard to sort of enter and exit for the child because of the way the doors are designed. I mean, it's hard even for me to get in and out from the back. It feels pretty cramped. Yeah, so my conclusion is that the Polestar 2 is not suited as a family car if you have small kids. It might if you have one child, or your children can sit without a booster seat or something like that, then, I mean, should be okay. But having two small children with seats, it gets too cramped, and usually you have so much stuff with you that it's... So I hope you got some useful information from this video about using the Polestar 2 as a family car. Thank you for watching, and see you in